I would like to welcome all of you all for this discussion here on promoting entrepreneurs and enterprises in rural India. Although enterprise development holds immense potential as a catalyst for economic empowerment, this journey is not without challenges. Limited ecosystems, skill gaps, and access to capital being just a few hurdles that small enterprises face. Our session today, therefore, aims to explore strategies that help build ecosystems for entrepreneurship, share stories of success and failures that have facilitated in nurturing small enterprises in rural India. Professor Shambu Prasad will be moderating this session for an insightful exchange of ideas. I would like to invite you on stage to please come, Professor. Mr. Pankaj Shukla, COO from Agri Entrepreneur Growth Foundation, please. Mr. Upamanyu Patil, Director of Programs, SSP, Swayam, Shikshan, Prayog. Mr. Naveen Patidar, CEO, AKRSP, and Mr. Dipesh Sutariya, Co-founder and CEO, Enable India. So, sir, I now hand it over to you to start.
Thank you, Latika, and the Axis Bank Foundation for, inviting me and being part of this very interesting session. So I'll spend a few minutes trying to say why we think this is important for many civil society organizations. I think there are various ways one can look at it. First is, you look at the situation analysis survey, the incomes of farm households is increasingly coming from outside of agriculture. While most of our work has been largely in natural resource management and that kind of space, so this is what's happening in the fields is somewhat different. And it could also be from government programs and other kinds of opportunities that exist. In many parts of rural India outside of the western and southern belt, there's hardly any kind of employment opportunity outside of the farm sector. So it still continues to occupy a significant part of livelihoods, but there's a lot of underemployment and so on. And obviously the growth in the public sector in terms of government jobs, though that is the most aspirational for many people in rural areas, is not materializing. And willy-nilly, most people have started taking to entrepreneurship in some way or the other. Some have been successful, some less successful. Broadly speaking, the civil society sector has not really explored the space enough for various historical reasons. So one of the thoughts I think we discussed earlier in the previous Abhisaran was to see if the ground connect that most civil society organizations have can actually be utilized in a slightly different direction. There's a significant amount of social capital. So can, in terms of transition, also look at transformation? Can civil society organizations see themselves as incubators in the rural areas? Because none of the existing incubators, I come from IRMA, I know it's very difficult for incubators to actually be in the rural areas and get the kinds of numbers that we're talking of. Not all entrepreneurship is all about startups, but there's some lexicon and vocabulary that entrepreneurship provides. How can that come into, our kind of discourse? So can civil society organizations also see themselves as providing incubation space for rural entrepreneurs? What would it mean? Are some of the ideas that we want to be discussing today. Axis Bank Foundation is undertaking a fairly interesting experiment. We'll probably get an opportunity to listen to that some other time. But we have today 4 eminent speakers who have been in this space. So we'll try and have this discussion in 2 parts. So I'd like to first start with asking some of them to share their experiences on, basically 3 kinds of reasons. So, and each of them have a different standpoint into why did they get into this enterprise space and how did they get into it? In some sense, what their approach has been. Maybe some numbers for us to understand how far have they got, And I would like each of the speakers to also share one key learning about what they believe. Yeah, okay. Um, so, what should others not do? So, I'd like them to also share at least one failure that they had experienced. Because if you're in entrepreneurship, failure is taken, is a kind of a given. So, please share with us at least one failure, and we'll first have this sharing of their ideas, and then we'll probably open up for some discussion. And in the second round, we'll take up some of these issues which goes beyond the particular organization to discuss issues relating to the ecosystem. Huh? So what we've requested them, just for us to understand, is can they have a one-slide presentation which could give us the numbers, etc. So I think we have three such slides. Okay, so we'll start with Pankaj. And yeah, so could you share the work that you've been doing as part of the AEG Foundation?
Yeah, hope I am audible. Good afternoon. So I represent AEGF. This is Agri Entrepreneur Growth Foundation. And this Agri Entrepreneurship program we started in 2014. But the foundation as such, I think we started the work with the rural community or the farmers in 2004. When we started because farmers, they need technologies. There is no technologies with the farmers. How we can work on improving the yields and all those things. So initially for 3-4 years we worked on that. The yields has improved, but ultimately if the yields are improved but there is no market available, then there is no point increasing the yields and all. Then the organization has taken a shift. Why don't we work on providing the marketing services, connect the farmers to the markets? And we started in very remote tribal areas in the Palghar and Kesla and all those areas where I think the technology is a challenge, even the market is a challenge. Then the second phase when we started in 2009, then we started working how we can basically connect them with the market, bringing the market players, be a system developed so that they are connected to the market and all. And 2014, we got an understanding, okay, they are connected with the market, they are getting the benefits and everything. But what if we have left the area or we have gone out of the area? How basically that will sustain, because we are not creating an ecosystem. It's basically we are coming, we are developing a system. Till the time we are there, everything is there. But once we are getting out of the system, what will happen with the community? Then the concept has came of this agri entrepreneurship. Why don't we develop a local ecosystem? We select a local individual, train him, mentor him, establish him, so that even if we exit from the area or we basically leave the area, the program should continue. It should not happen till the time we are there, everything is moving fine. But once we are leaving the area, everything has gone bad. 14 we have started. And like the failures and all, I think I still remember, I think 2014, the first cohort we have created is of 29 agri entrepreneur. And within a year, all 29, they failed. Reason being, we have gone with our preconceived notion कि ये करना है. We have not understood what is basically the demand of the geography, what the farmers want. We have gone with our preconceived notion कि for you peoples will do input, with 3 peoples will do this thing and all those things, without understanding what is the requirement of the ground. So we failed miserably. Then we basically changed the model, understood that. It took times and all those things. Then 2019, we got a bit of understanding with multiple iteration, because it's agri entrepreneurship. It's not like a single thing you can replicate everywhere. A lot of customization is required. The kind of agri entrepreneurship that you can do with a farmer in Nasik is not possible with a farmer who is in Koti, because they have altogether different requirements and all. So with multiple iteration and all, 2019, we got a bit understanding. Now this is a scale-up model and we can basically take it to the masses. So as currently, I think some 23,000 agri entrepreneurs we have trained. And proudly, I can say about 90% of the agri entrepreneurs still they are providing services to the farmer. Some 2.3 million farmers we have reached through this agri entrepreneur. 13 different states we are present. So it's been a long journey, but initially we failed, we learned from the failures, we changed the model, and one learning, I think the learning that Professor Shambu has asked is basically, whenever you are going to the ground, don't go with any preconceived notion कि मुझे क्या करना. It should be a bottom-up approach. What is the requirement and all. And this agri-entrepreneurship model, we don't just take as a model to create an entrepreneur. For us, agri-entrepreneur is just a tool. what we want to intend to do with the model, how we can address the pain point of the small and the marginal farmers. If we go with that notion, ki, okay, my ultimate customer is the smallholder farmers, I have to address their pain points, and through that, this agri entrepreneurship will select an individual, train them, mentor them, will take it forward. So, as you have asked for the failures, I'll give one more success. Why I think we feel it's a success? Reason being, we just don't train the individual. Because you can't expect a rural youth, because all the local talent, they will go to the towns and all for the lookout of the jobs and all those things. What we get in the rural areas, because we don't want to import people, that I'll take a person from another village and ask him to be an entrepreneur in a different village. We want a local ecosystem be to created. We want a local individual. We are not very selective. So we have not very stringent criteria. He should be at least graduate and all those things. It's bare minimum 10th minimum you are passed. Not very aspirational, because again with this model you have limitations. If someone expects that they will earn 20,000 rupees or 25,000 rupees in a year, it is not possible. So again we need to keep those check, and the success of the model is the kind of mentorship which is there, because what we are taking is a very raw individual. You can't expect him with just a 45 days training, he is an entrepreneur. The kind of mentorship that we provide for 2 to 3 years till the time he gets established is the key of the model. I think what we can say is the success behind the model that we have.
So thanks a lot, Pankaj. Maybe just a very quick, explanation of your collaboration with NIAM, though that forms part of the ecosystem question. But I'd like to also leave you with a question which you can answer later. Is while you're training for agricultural entrepreneurship, so have the people whom you have mentored and trained, have they also gone beyond agriculture? So don't answer that now, but that you can take up later. But the NIAM bit, just for clarification, so, the certification.
Yeah, I think in model, I think one good thing we have, I think agri entrepreneurship, you can't separate rural area or a village from agriculture. And agri entrepreneurship, I think agri input and all those things is very important, because in the rural area, I think one is the need and the requirement. I think they are not getting this agri input at the right time. Even if they are getting, they are not getting at the right price. Even if they are getting at the right price, then I think the rural people, they are, or the farmers, especially the smallholder farmers, they are the easy target for the spurious materials and all. Because if a variety with the name X, I think you in the market will get 10 names with the X. They don't know what they are buying. If they are going to any of the retailer, I think what he is pushing is based on his margins and all. So this training makes them eligible. It's a 45 days training. In 45 days training, they will get the basics of the agriculture, entrepreneurship, personality development, all those things. Agriculture is a part of that. And post this 45 days of training, they'll get a certificate from NIAM, which makes them eligible to get a fertilizer license. Else for getting that license, one should be either BSc Agriculture or a Diploma in Agriculture or BSc Chemistry. Having said that, it's not like all my agri entrepreneur that we speak is all are having agri input shop. The ratio is only 30, but what in the training they will get, even if you are working on the output pace, if you are working on any other pace, if you are having a basic knowledge of agriculture, actually what is the seed? If in the seeds there are multiple things. It's a hybrid seeds, it's open pollinated. If it's urea, what is there in the urea? If a person is not even doing the input, but doing the other services, if he is aware of that thing, basically he can provide that knowledge. Because what we say, one of the mandatory thing that an agri entrepreneur has to give is the extension.
Sure. We'll come back to that later. So thanks a lot. Sandeep, can we move to the next? Okay. Yes, Upamanyu, the work with Swayam, Shikshan, Prayog. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon all. My name is Upamanyu Patil. I represent an organization called Swayam, Shikshan, Prayog. We started from 1993. There is a massive earthquake in Latur. It started with disaster, and then the primary focus of the organization is women empowerment. And we actually expanded our journey with all the disasters happened in India. So 2001 Gujarat, tsunami, and so on, the recent floods in Kerala. Primarily we go and revive the livelihood which are affected by the disaster, specifically for a woman entrepreneur. So I won't go much about the organization in the entrepreneurship space. So as I said, we started for a organization for women women empowerment. Prema Gopalan was the founder. And we seen that economic empowerment is key for any empowerment or decision making. We want to bring women into the decision making space. So earner is a decision maker. So that's how we decided to enter into the entrepreneurship space. So we started training women earlier we started, as you said, there are multiple failures we undergone, not one. We started with the domain specific trainings, means tailoring, beauty parlor, all those kind of trades. But whenever we talk about these training programs, there is not much enthusiasm from the women. Number one, they don't want to become an entrepreneur. Normally, they ask, can you give us employment? Or घर में बैठ के कुछ कर सकते हैं और आप market दिला सकते हैं. So that domain specific, then we move on to work with institute in Dharwad, and we created a training course called Market Oriented Value Enhancement MOVE program, which is a 10 days training curriculum spread over 3 months, and then there is a mentorship happens. So that actually training curriculum started working better, and now we train more than 1,65,000 women into the entrepreneurship space. More than 90% is a success ratio. Second, normally when we talk in the corporate sector, they say you should be focused on one specific business. But and then we actually try to do that only focus on Kirana shop, so Kirana shop. But when we learned in a days, the diversification or multiple businesses are key in the rural areas, because that one specific business doesn't work. Then to create an ecosystem, actually long ago in 2004, we started with this entrepreneurship program. So for any enterprise, you required 3 major things. One is skills, second is market, and third is finance. So we created the microfinance arm and marketing arm as a Section 8 and for-profit entity, which is actually helping women to give a confidence. And then actually again we started thinking on the market part of it. So everyone asks, like, if you are able to provide us a market, we are ready to produce whatever. So the major learning comes that we thought the businesses which are non-competitive, can we try to bring those businesses into the rural areas? So we say, if you do Kirana shop, there is a competition. You cannot create 2, 3, 4 more than that Kirana shops or stationery or those kind of businesses. So actually when we entered into agri and agri-allied businesses, there is no competition. If you went into dairy, even all 200 households can keep a cattle, sell a milk. There is a market available. So with that learning, actually we started focusing, and rural is mostly agriculture. Most of the farmer, either they are landholding. If they don't have a land, they can also work with these enterprises which are set up by the women entrepreneur. So then actually we said that these are the businesses where there is no competition. Either you go for poultry, goatry, dairy, in agri input, we have started working on vermicompost manufacturing, where we are promoting the natural farming as well. So I think these are the major shifts we did with the learning. And I think again, there is a span of any enterprises required. So we need to innovate always going forward. And also we tried to find the sectoral approaches for bringing enterprise in the rural areas. So in Swachh Bharat mission, we actually created the women groups manufacturing the prefab toilets. And that is for a span of like 5 to 6 years. Similarly, this water purification plants actually started in 2009. Now this jar water selling. So there are women groups started those kind of businesses. There are clean energy entrepreneurs who sell all solar, biogas, those kind of products. So apart from the available resources, what are the new things and the required things in the rural areas, we try to promote those kind of businesses. So I stop here. I think, so these are the learning and stages where we moved from last 20-25 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Upamanyu. So can we have the next presentation? Yeah. So Naveen, AKRSP is known for other things than entrepreneurship. So why did you get into entrepreneurship in the first place, and a bit on your journey?
Yeah, thanks. So let me give you a couple of my personal examples which I experienced in AKRSP. My earliest years in AKRSP, we were doing a lot of PRAs. And because we were known for watershed, soil, water, forestry, those kind of works, we were used to do PRAs in a certain way, so that community would give you demands only around agriculture, NRM, those kind of things. So we were doing, in my first year in AKRSP, we were doing PRA in one of the tribal village in MP. And we were writing down the community demands. So one tribal girl, young girl, she stood up and said, my demand is a beauty parlor. And we were hardcore natural resources management organization. Everyone in AKRSP was like day in and day out, we used to think only water, soil, forestry. That girl faced so much backlash from the community as well as AKRSP staff that day. And even I was neutral, and everyone shouted her down that beauty parlor is not a good idea because soil is mitti beh raha hai, pani beh ke ja raha hai gaon se, there is no crop productivity. How can you give idea like a beauty parlor? So that was like, I think now I can reflect on that. That was a bad thing, but that time we were all neutral. We did not actually recognize the aspiration of the tribal girl. And that kept on happening for many years. Suddenly we observed that the earliest community leaders who were coming to PIM committees, irrigation, lift irrigation society committees, forest committees, watershed committees, they were the same leaders actually. They were just coming to new committees. So even in FPOs, the same old watershed leaders, they are becoming directors. Even in SHGs and federations, the old leaders were becoming members. We realized that the youth is not coming to our programs. There is something wrong with us as an organization that youth is not participating in our programs. They are not coming to PRAs. They are not coming to agriculture trainings, any community groups. That is how actually we restarted our thinking, designing process. So we did one survey in Dangs. So there is a there is very good known tourist place, Saputara. So we did one survey, I think 12 years back, through 3-4 interns. Saputara has extremely high footfall in terms of tourists. What we realized that 99% of business was going to outsiders. So वहाँ पर छोटा even pani puris, Chinese जो food joints, even smaller things like chai wala, they were all coming from outsides. The local tribal youth was not at all gaining from that tourist place, which actually falls in a 99% tribal district. So that is how it triggered our mind that we have to actually cater to the aspirations of youth, and there are enough opportunities if we start looking outside agriculture. Second realization is, as you mentioned, the land holding, whether we accept it or do not accept it, land holding is only 0.8 hectares. So 0.8 hectares में AKRSP जितना जानता है, अगर मैं सब कुछ कर लूँ, मैं उसको इरिगेशन दे दूँ, नेचुरल फार्मिंग दे दूँ, FPO में जोड़ दूँ, ठीक है, मतलब किस लेवल तक हम ले जा सकते हैं 0.8 हेक्टेयर्स की लैंड होल्डिंग में किसी को, कितना प्रॉस्पेरिटी तक जा सकते हैं. सो अ लिमिट विल कम. So I am not saying that AKRSP will not work in agriculture. We will continue to work on agriculture and we will continue to see what maximum can we earn from 0.8 hectares. But I think beyond these 0.8 hectares also we have to look at, there are a lot of opportunities available. So what we have done in last 5 years basically is, now there is a structured program where we mobilize a large number of youth through various events, processes, and we trigger their aspirations around non-farm enterprises, off-farm enterprises. And one common principle we have is we are sector agnostic. So we never tell any youth that they have to put up an enterprise in agriculture sector, off-farm or non-farm. Let them come out with the idea. We take them through a process through which they realize whether their idea will work or will not work. So we will not tell upfront that this, boss, if you are asking for a Silai machine, whether this will work or will not work, we will take that person to a process. We will ask them to go and survey the customers, whether there is a market available for your product and services. After doing all the processes, if they are confident, we are confident, we support them. We provide blended financing mechanisms of some grant plus some low-cost finance, outside finance. Then there is incubation process. So 3 months of very rigorous business plan refinement, customer acquisitions, product development, market linkages, funding. Then 18 months of business performance monitoring. So till 18 months we monitor the performance of the enterprise, whether the enterprise is generating enough profit or not. And there is very systematic MIS where each and every individual has to be tracked for at least 18 months. By now we have done 4,000 youth, more than 4,000 youth through this systematic rural enterprise incubation processes. More than 40 types of businesses have been supported. They have combined business of around 250 crores. And the net income every month is in the range of 10 to 20,000 rupees per month. So I think this is our overall this thing. The failure is, I think there are these mega schemes announced by government. So you must have heard about, let us say, Vishwakarma scheme, where it is actually centered around self-employment, non-farm self-employment. But out of our 4,000 list, there is actually none who could be linked to such kind of mega schemes. Even there are these schemes like formalization of informal enterprises. That also we could not avail. So I think we have to do some work where we can actually take advantage of these mega schemes announced by government, because they are centered around non-farm. Our idea is non-farm, so why can't we take advantage of them? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Naveen, for sharing your insights and also what we have not been looking at for quite some time, though it was just around in the village, so to speak. Yeah, so Dipesh, you work with a different set of communities, so would like to hear more about your work.
Thank you, Professor. And yes, I don't have a slide because I made a slide and then I realized I don't understand that. It's too many things on there, so I thought I'll speak. So, as they say, I'm a social entrepreneur, and as social entrepreneurs, you are unreasonable. So, some places also non-compliant in some places. So, I think telling about Enable India, we focus on economic independence and dignity for persons with disability. This is our 25th year. We started in 1999. Started by myself and my wife, Shanti Raghavan. So both of us started this organization to be solely focusing on the economic independence and dignity for people with disabilities. And I think people say that in the first decade, we created a business case of hiring people with disability. Why hire people with disability? Because it makes perfect business sense. Pay the same salary, expect the same productivity. So we started working in the urban areas, and we started talking about placing a person in the job. And today, basically, we work with 800 companies, and more than 50,000 people have got livelihood. Okay. And while we realized that we started working in urban areas, as we know, 60% of the people are in the rural areas. So this is where we started really working in the rural areas. And one of the aspects of that was we started seeing that people in the rural areas started coming to urban areas to do a job. Now 8,000, 10,000, 15,000 is not enough actually to survive. Finally, they don't send anything back to the family, and they are not able to survive anyway. So what's the point? And this is where basically the whole rural livelihood mission started with in our organization. And I have Guru Prasad here, who's leading the organization in the rural livelihood mission. So I told him, you should be sitting here, not me. But I think the idea of rural livelihood mission, I think I can keep going on, but I've just put down about 6 A's for us to understand what we are doing. And the first is aspiration. So I think in the case of people with disabilities, I think there was a first batch of students who were visually impaired blind. And we went out to a juice shop. And we were having juice because we were small. We were like, okay, 6 of us were there, 5 visually impaired, and I was there. So I asked them, what juice would you like? And this is where 3 people put their hand up and said, I want watermelon, orange, and pineapple. The other 2 are looking at me, surprised. I'm like, what happened? He's like, nobody has ever asked us about what juice would you like. I am blind. Somebody gives me a glass of juice, I drink it. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even think that this is the state, right? Because people think you're blind, de do, kuch piya. What are the aspirations? And this was the first learning to say, building aspirations is so important, which also means building expectations. I expect you to come on your own, figure out solutions. I think when we expect people and start looking at there is expectation, especially from people with disability, there were no expectations. So I know you have to find out what juice would you like. Next time, please make sure you taste everything and tell me which one you like. So this was the aspiration building, and I think that is a very, very key element. The second A is, I think learned with the whole societal thinking, ability to solve. And I think how do you scale when you talk about abundance? Many times we talk about distributing a solution. I have a entrepreneurship idea. I'm going to start saying this is my idea, I keep doing it and all that. But I think the whole level of scale is distributing the ability to solve, not solve it. And this was the very important learning of ability to solve. So when it comes to ability to solve, I think in this whole complex system, how do we create simplicity? And the simplicity comes with, I think in the morning I spoke about language builds culture. And when you talk about language, so we started saying, this rural livelihood mission, we are going to call these centers as a Garv Se centers. Garv Se is dignity and pride. And that is what important. So when people connect, they connect, I am part of the Garv Se center. So already kind of things are moving. We created platforms because people understand. And I think in the previous session, basically I was also looking at systems thinking. And I think yesterday we heard about the whole thing we talk about is a railway system. Can I build platforms? Can I build tracks? Can I build trains, bring trains and bogies to that station and let people come in and come out? It's their life. So this was a very important learning when you think of systems. Otherwise, it's like I am going to take you somewhere. And no, I think I am going to build systems. And this systems is how you build abilities. So one of the platform we built was something called Enable Vani. Now, how do I reach to unreached? And this was the Enable Vani is an IVR system based on Gram Vani. Many of you would have heard. What happens is a person in the village makes a phone call to this number and listens. I'm a person who's visually impaired. I use this computer I use a screen reader software to work on a computer, like you and me. Somebody will say, press 1 to like, 2 to share, and 3 to say, I have a story to tell. I run a small kirana shop in this place called Gulbarga in north of Karnataka, and I don't have 2 legs. So I put all my materials on a thread and I pull it down and give it because I can't get up a solution. It comes to a moderator, we put it back and it takes. Today in the last 10 years, we have 1 million calls every year, 4 calls every minute. And in 4 languages. So we have Kannada Namayatri, Namma Vani, Hamari Vani in Hindi, Kurul Namodu in Tamil, and Amadir Vani in Bengali. So this is again a kind of technology, right, in a way. The next A comes is how do you kind of have agency? When you say agency, basically, how do people own it? Because only when people own it, it's going to be kind of going to be taken up and all that. And giving you a simple example of, we started this thing called Project Discovery. If you are a person with disability and are using solutions in your day-to-day life, send me a solution and the best solution will get an award. I'll tell you one example and then move on. There was a solution, there was a boy in interiors of West Bengal. And he could not catch a pencil because of fine motor movements. So what this NGO did was basically they took a potato, put the potato in his hand, put the pencil inside the potato, and he was able to write. A solution. right? A 1 cent solution. In US, they have made a pen which is very fat, so that person can catch, and that is $400. So I think a potato is a solution. And what they did was they started peeling the potato and put that and keep giving the potato, and became a therapy. And today this boy is able to write without a potato. So this is actually the excellent solutions which are coming from the ground. But more important is what you say about restoring agencies. We tagged line saying that everyone an innovator. What are you looking for somebody to solve your problem? You're solving your problems. So I think this was a very, very powerful thing about how do you restore agency? How do you give ownership to the individuals and the people? And I think we can do the same thing for our NGO partners or whoever, social organizations working. Obviously, we need A for associations. So we work in the rural Garvse centers, work with NGO partners who are in the rural areas, who are working on the ground, and that's how they basically take off. We kind of support them with capacity building. We do various Jagrati Melas so that people get gathered. We do Margdarshi workshops to make sure that happens and all that. So this is how associations with the NGOs work together and all that. And other one is the allies. You need allies, and we'll get to the allies in the next phase. But allies are, for example, we partnered with RCT, Rural Self-Employment Training Institutes. They came saying that we have been working in the districts, but we don't know how to work with disability. So we created an entrepreneurship development program for persons with disability. Today it is National Academy of Root Cities program, which every RCT can give. Today we work with 100 plus RCTs, and they have already given various programs and all that. And so we enable the RCT and the NGO, and that's how the rural livelihood is happening and all that. And there are other allies, like we have Rangde, we are working with Selco, we are working with various things. We can talk about that, because this is the ecosystem we need to build and all that. And the last one I want to talk about is also alignment. See, all this works, but if you don't have timing, and I think many cricket lovers, there is a whole ICC Champions League going on. So I think timing is everything. So the mantra I use is basically set up, build, operate, transfer, sustain. Look at which stage this organization or systems are. Otherwise, we expect everything to happen the day one. I think if you say we are in a setup stage, I think we'll take it easy. We are in a build stage, we are getting to the next level. And then we also talk about sustenance. So this is the timing, which I call it alignment. And last vision, basically, which I want to give and we'll talk about is, can we look at a unicorn in the rural areas? Right? When we think of unicorn and all that, I think sometimes Gaon Chalo or something has to be a mantra. Otherwise, we always think that people from the Gaon are going, and I think I heard the previous session where 20,000 rupees salaries, if not available in the Gaon, I'll go out. Right, sir? I think, why should it be? I think we should create a narrative that Gaon Chalo or something like that to build an unicorn in the rural area. So thank you. I think that's what.
Thanks a lot, Dipesh. So we heard 4 different, very innovative kinds of work in this rural enterprise space. So what we'd like to do is just open up for a few clarificatory questions. If you have comments and suggestions, we'll take that up in the next round. So any questions that you have of the speakers? And I would also encourage the speakers, in case you want some of your colleagues who have come to answer, please invite them to participate so that they can tell, if required, ideas from the ground. Anyone wants to ask any question to the...
one clarification for... आपको लगा गांव में कि एस्पिरेशन वैसा नहीं आ रहा है, तो AKRSP has switched to other enterprising, ब्यूटी पार्लर है या उसमें. इट मीन्स कि हम मान लेते हैं कि NRM में एस्पिरेशन हम नहीं ला सकते हैं. दैट्स व्हाई वे
Interesting question. So please provoke the speakers like that.
Yeah.
One of the speakers.
Introduce करिए आपको.
My name is Vikas Vaze. I'm from Shop Foundation Trust, Baroda. One of the speakers mentioned that जिन लोगों को train किया है, they are earning a income of 10 to 15,000 rupees, I think. तो ये income है, या क्योंकि उसके अंदर अगर सर्विस प्रोवाइडर है तो उसके अंदर कॉस्ट भी रहेगी और उसका खुद का भी मेहनत का सुबह से शाम तक का रहेगा.
टर्नओवर 50,000 से ज़्यादा है एवरेज.
ओके, टर्नओवर 50,000.
Sure.
नेट ऑफ करके उसको 10,000 मिलता है.
Yes.
Yeah. Shashank from Richspan. I have the question for Pankaj from the previous session.
Yeah.
That when we talk about the agri entrepreneurs, what stops these agri entrepreneurs to from becoming exploitative of the farmers?
I'll answer it now.
Any more questions, or we can just take this round? Okay. Yeah.
Pratap here from Gram Vikas. We are talking about either agri or non-agri. Do you have the combination of both? Because equally both are important. Yeah, please.
Sure. So we'll start with Upamanyu and then move on.
Yeah, so I answer first to your question. Yeah, it's profitable. The market linkage company basically work with the large corporates to source the produce from the farmers. Secondly, we also created a retail sales network nearby towns. Like we are in Latur city, Solapur city, so there are customers. We also created this milk collection centers owned by women, and then there is a sales happen through these retail outlets in the city. So basically we work with the corporates and the individual customers as an intermediary, because individual entrepreneur can't do that. So this market arm will do that. It's a social enterprise. The company called Sakyunik Rural Enterprise, sure, and it has been there from last 18 years now. And it's not highly profitable, because most of the profit we pass on to the entrepreneurs who work with us. As you said, it's not agri, non-agri. Actually, all agri, agri-allied, non-farm, all is required. While I am saying the learning, I said, because we promote only non-farm, is more competitive. And if you go for a agri-allied, it has a less competition. Otherwise, we work across all the spectrum. We cannot only divide the division that only we work with the agri-entrepreneur or non-farm. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so I think मेरा जवाब ये है कि AKRSP has not stopped working with the, let us say, soil, water, forestry. But question मेरा ये है कि it does not matter what AKRSP thinks. AKRSP might be extremely passionate about natural resources, but the aspirations of youth are not in control of AKRSP. What they are thinking, what they are aspiring for, there are so many other factors working in the country. The market is working, media is working, social media is working. So I think the question for organization like us is whether we, because their aspirations are other than NRM, should we just leave them? Or we engage with them and work on their aspirations. So that is the only issue which we are trying to address. Thank you.
Yeah, to answer your question, Shashank, I think, as I said, we don't import agri entrepreneur to a location. He is a local individual, and जो हम कहते हैं ना कि घर में आदमी चोरी नहीं करता है, वो example, he is for generations, he is there. He knows कि अगर if he'll do any wrong thing with a fellow farmers, then prestige and stake of generations is there. So we have not seen a case कि where an individual from that particular area, he will cheat his uncle, जिसको उतने साल से वो देख रहा है. So that is the beauty, because, and another thing, as I said, earlier I said, कि these smallholder farmers are the easiest target for spurious material. Even for our agri entrepreneur that we create, there are many people come to them, कि you give me 25,000 rupees, I am giving you a product worth 1 lakh of rupees, you sell it on MRP. And उसमें वो distilled water भी हो सकता है. But thing is that with the kind of mentor, ultimately if he is selling that product, then he is cheating the masses. Because on high expectation and aspiration he is giving. But as I said, after training, we give the mentorships and all, where we have a control, ki what actually this agri entrepreneur is doing. It's not like just after training we are leaving them. Even we are having a control on that, whether he is providing the services to the farmer or he is becoming a retailer, because we want a service provider. We don't want a retailer, which are multiple retailers are there on the ground. So biggest thing, because he is from the local area, he will never cheat.
Yes. Yeah, Dipesh, I also wanted you to, along with what you would like to share, I think in your presentation you gave the approach very well. Can you also share with us some of the numbers of people whom you're working with?
Yeah, no, thank you. I think just in a way I telling the number and answering your question in some way on agri, non-agri. So we actually have about 106 kind of trades which people with disability have started, right? And it can be sheep rearing, goat farm, dairy farming, tailoring, fertilizer. And one example I can give you on this one is that there is a girl who is deaf, and she started a small darshini. And obviously for 25 years of her life, she didn't do anything, no sign language, nothing. She came for this entrepreneurship development program in our city. She went back and started a small darshini, where, by the way, farmers are coming and eating. So in a way, basically, it's an indirect, doesn't have to be direct agriculture, but it can be. But the story why I told you about this girl is because she won a star performer award, and she puts the award on the top in her hotel, and she's so proud and kind of doing this kind of businesses. So these are the stories. For the numbers, basically today, ourselves, we have placed more than 20,000 rural entrepreneurs. Today we work with 12 states, and across the country, because of our city, there are 44 lakh people with disabilities have gone through this system now, entrepreneurship and all that. So that's the kind of number, but it's not directly done, but we do the training for the directors of our city, their trainers. And so indirectly, basically, we have enabled their capacity. And because of this course being there, we have also documented the whole 106 trades as well, self-employment, what can be done, what people are doing, and all that. One failure in that case is we haven't been able to do for all 21 disabilities yet. So primary, I think the margin, the larger ones are people with physical disability, people who are hearing impaired or deaf, and some low vision or visually impaired, and few cerebral palsies and others. But we haven't been doing everything in the rural. That's our kind of vision which we are trying to approach and all that. So these are the numbers. I think we work with, as I said, 100 our cities today, and that's the thing. Overall, we have touched 5 lakh plus lives and 50,000 people with disability. So we can kind of say we have found livelihood for those people.
One question which I was going to ask you is, while you train for agriculture, does your entrepreneur end up diversifying outside of agriculture? Have you found instances of that? Because they got a taste of entrepreneurship, but then they have their own journeys.
So usually, I think they will not just go from out from the agriculture. It might happen they will get into some off-farm activities. Like another thing in the agri entrepreneurship that we do, this is highly seasonal. You can't expect a person just running an input shop, selling seeds for just 2 months, and the whole of the year he can do, or the assured income for him. So basically what we do, multiple layering. So digital banking is having no seasonality. So what we want with all this agri entrepreneur, whether they can provide the digital banking services as well. Vermicomposting, like there are few entrepreneurship, like milk collection. Milk collection, there is no seasonality. Every month you will get the milk, and every month they are getting the money. So even if they are not doing any other activity, but good if they do the digital banking, so that somehow their financial inclusion, all those things will come into the picture. But for other people's, we you layer it with 2 or 3 things, so that at least in 8 or 10 months in a year, you get an assured income out of that. But in our case, I think what I can say, we are fully focused on agriculture, and the kind of mentor that we keep in the systems are BSc agriculture or ABM guys, because, and that is another thing why they have not diversified much out of agriculture. They have gone into the CSC, if you want that customer service center, if you consider it outside of agriculture, and that is the only case. Otherwise, it's more or less whatever the business or the archetypes that we say, it's basically into agriculture, because we are highly focused in that. As a foundation, we don't do anything on agriculture, health, and all those things. That is another reason why we are only into agriculture.
Yeah. So I'd like to now move the discussion into understanding the ecosystem. So we'd like to look at the ecosystem in 2 kinds of ways. So one is, because the ecosystem for a startup in a rural area, if you were to look at these nano enterprises or agri entrepreneurs in that kind of a language of a startup, so in the absence of it, if you are in this space, you have to work with the entrepreneur, but you also have to work with the ecosystem. So what has been your learning in this process? And the second thing is, it is not that the ecosystem does not exist, because the government has its own setup uh, and its schemes, etc. But somehow that the ecosystem that exists is not working. So how is it that what's the nature of the work that you're doing on the ecosystem, and what is it that is working, not working? So some of the insights from your experience. We'll start in the reverse order. Start with you and end with Pankaj.
So I look at ecosystem in two ways. I think if I have to summarize, one is integration and celebration. So from the integration perspective, we work with, as I said, the ecosystem, which is the RCT, and because of which we are able to actually scale with that. And the whole Ministry of Rural Development's initiative or scheme of RCT, which is how it is helped is because RCT has a process. So they have a 6 months, 1 year and 2 year follow-ups. They have a system where there are 200 beds. So the whole facility is provided for training. They have a National Academy of Root Seti, which provides this training, which we have added now. So because of this ecosystem and the scheme kind of being there, we were able to plug in. And there was a gap of understanding disability, which we added. They were actually finding difficulty to find people for training. So actually we added as well, because they're like, every time I have a batch of 30, I get 10 people, 15 people, I'm actually not able to fill. So with the ecosystem of the NGO, besides, they were actually sourcing people. So the organizations source people and kind of put them into the trainings and all that. So our city is also helping. So it's almost we are catalyzing their own work. And hence, I think that is happening, and they're proudly putting that they have been placed so many people with disabilities across and all that now, the entrepreneurship level. So that is one ecosystem, which is the training, the setup, which actually that's the only way we can scale, because I cannot be everywhere in that sense. And because of the follow-up, saying that in our case of disability, it's not somebody started or got a job or is doing entrepreneurship, okay, I move to the next one. We need to make sure it sustains and all that. So that is one area. The second challenge basically was the financial inclusion. And the whole idea about when you're a person with disability, banks don't want to give loans because there is already an inherent risk of a person with disability and will not give it back. Even after a lot of discussion at the lead banks or at the top levels and all that, I think there is still at the grassroots, the implementation is a challenge. So what we started doing, and today we partnered with Rangde, like a social investor, and can I connect it? So what we did was we created a national level license to say Rangde and Enable India partner to give a national license for people to give social impact funds to the entrepreneur directly. So this is happening. There are certain challenges because the grassroots organization needs to make sure they take responsibility. So these are the kind of things happening, but I think it's working very well. We have already seen in the last 6 months that 50 lakh plus have been already dispersed through Rangde platform, and returns are coming back. There is almost 98% money plowing back and all that. So this is a good success we are seeing. At the same time, it needs to be scaled. So there is an opportunity where we are looking, saying that can we look at integrating post office now? Because post office is everywhere. Can I make sure post office engine has been taken to kind of start doing it? So this is one more opportunity we have. So the ally on the Rangde, the financial inclusion is there. And then there are local schemes and all that. So we also see what works in certain areas, we'll kind of take the best practices and try to share it as well. Because I always believe that I think we'll learn from the ground level, which I call it nowadays native intelligence, rather than artificial intelligence. I think native intelligence is the most powerful thing at this point. So in this case, and we can start learning from there. So these are few factors basically which are allies. Then we work with organizations like Celco and all that to say, can I integrate with you to provide a solar for a fan and a light for a Kirana shop owner. Now this kind of allies and this kind of partnership starts behaving, kind of working on that. And obviously the whole Access Bank Foundation funding and those things, why we are here, why I am here as well, is the supporters like that, which enable things to take it to the next level. So I think finally the important thing, the last part was the celebration, and that is important. So we have Samagama, where we get everybody together. The Panchayat officer gets an award, right? So imagine now we are like not only people with disability get an award, like this girl example I gave you, we also give an award to a panchayat officer. We give a district collector an award to say thank you so much. You have been a star person in this. We have enabler committees and village level committees to support the entrepreneurs on the grassroots level, because we are not going to be there. And there are stories like in place in Dodbalapur in near Bangalore. I have seen the change happen where the panchayat development officer says, I used to get all the problems coming up. In the next 1 or 2 years, I am seeing only solutions coming from the people with disabilities. So he's saying, I am happy to give all my party or programs, events and everything to people with disabilities now. So he's that happy. He's like, you tell me what you want me to do, because now we have restored agency. We are saying I am helping and we are creating a system, and that changes the whole ecosystem. So this is, to me, a celebration is important by creating a samagam and awarding people as well to say, I appreciate what you do.
So, Naveen, in more challenging, areas like, say, Dangs or in Muzaffarpur or other kinds of places, so how do you build an ecosystem? What's been AKRSP's experience?
So yeah,
And also, maybe they've had experiences of working well with the state. Maybe you've not had. How difficult is it to work with the state?
yeah. So in terms of whole ecosystem, of course, in remote area, a lot of lead has to be taken by our teams. So right from identifying entrepreneurs to their trainings. But then what we do is, let us say, generic capacity building is done by our teams. But because we are sector agnostic, so there are so many types of businesses which are being demanded, or business ideas are given by the entrepreneurs themselves. So we cannot train them on every of these trades. So either we take help of RCT, or we have our own experts. But very interestingly, recently what we found is, if there are existing successful local entrepreneurs, they are much better trainers. So recently we organized a training around Pani Puri, and we identified the best person in that area, in that district, who has the highest business around Pani Puri, and he became the trainer. And 70 other people actually took training from that person, that how to create most popular business out of Pani Puri. So I think that is how you create local ecosystem. So it's not for Pani Puri. You identify trainers for different kind of trades. It can be construction, it can be beauty salons, all kind of things. Second is for funding. Of course, we are taking help of Rangde for low cost financing. But then we are also leveraging a lot of funds through SHGs, directly from banks. Also, we are combining that fund with the grants like from ABF projects. So that is how funding is being arranged. But a lot of effort is also going into formalization. So let us say you have to get a PAN card, a bank account, their registration in the Udyam Aadhaar portal. So that is being done through citizen service centers. So they are taken to these citizen service centers and they get all these formal documents. Then of course, the other big player is then government. So rather than depending on a particular department, if a particular kind of micro business can be funded through, let us say, any of the government department, it can be rural development, NRLM, tribal department, forest department, because many of these tribal areas, forest department, tribal department has a lot of resources, but they do not have ideas. So if we pitch, if these entrepreneurs can pitch their ideas to local government officials, so they have received a lot of these small machineries, equipment, also from the government schemes. But the last thing is, I think, because now we have 4,000 plus people in our network, they themselves are a big force. So we have created informal groups. There are WhatsApp groups. Those who are doing similar kind of businesses, they are on the platform. We organize these Udyam Melas, so where they showcase their successes, learn from each other, support each other. And that is how I think this tribe is growing. And we see huge potential in terms of peer support from these rural entrepreneurs.
So for this, I need to explain little bit the model of Swayam Shikshan Prayog, how we works with the grassroots and women entrepreneurs are usually with women. So primarily we identify a woman from the village. We call her as a leader. And that is a very rigorous process we follow whenever we expand in a new geography. And she will become a forefront person for organization. As we started in Latur earthquake, we are a consultant to Government of Maharashtra in the rehabilitation program as a community participation consultant. And we worked in a mass, like 1200 villages, 200,000 families. We have worked in 1993. So these two things have taught us how to work with the government as well. This woman at the grassroots is very important person for us, and then also we identify the role models, early adopters for any new thing we want to introduce in that area. So there are 4 ways we normally use, and it's normally, I think everyone may doing that. I just frame it. So it's awareness or information. That's the first way to go with the communities. Then second, training, capacity building. So any particular thing required the training component. Third, actually we do an activity called dialogue workshop or advocacy workshop. This is a combination of community, government officials, people who are part of the ecosystem. As I said, we also work with a lot of corporates. We started with British Petroleum, co-created a product called Urja Stove, then worked with Godrej for Chotu Cool. Likewise, currently we are working with Systema Bio and for a biogas. So, and we are working with Promotin for this milk collection center, setting up a milk collection center. We do the partnership with corporates as well. And that's how we created this for-profit arm, because NGO cannot partner with the corporate to do the businesses. We only safeguard that, as Shashank you asked, the exploitation the business or entrepreneur can do. That's the job of either we have a village level action group, we say VHG. So they actually monitor. It's a consist of Gram Panchayat, few women leaders from across the all, without getting into class caste, everyone will be the part of that village action group. So these are the 3-4 things which actually work as a very strong ecosystem. When you come in, as you said, we also organize large melavas where we invite officials, and once they commit into the large gatherings, if individual person go into their office, they need to respond. Otherwise, in a hierarchy, if someone want to go to BDO office, they may not be allowed. But when I am speaking into the platform and saying, it's my number, you can contact me anytime. So those things works a lot. So this dialogue workshop is a very, very important activity in our programs. In every project, we actually introduce that, which helps a lot. So corporate, government, and local people, this together work as a very strong ecosystem. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So as far as ecosystem goes, I think I'll just cite 2 examples. One, as I said, we are working on agri entrepreneurship. So if I'll take only these 2 agris, we are highly dependent on agriculture department, because as I said, that NIAM certificates will make them eligible to get the license, but it is not assured that they will get the license, because for that ultimately we are dependent on the agriculture department. So we are working in 13 states. For last 5 years, we are giving the certificates, and still in few of the states, still we are not able to get the licenses, because we are not able to convince that particular state agriculture department, even though we have said, see, this many states already the letter is issued, people are getting the licenses, but still we are not able to convince them. So it's like one of the ecosystem, same course, same program, same kind of agri entrepreneur. One of the state they are getting the licenses, another state they are not getting the licenses.
Would you like to name those states?
It's good not to take the name. And just connected to another thing, if never get a license. Yes, even if you have the scope. Entrepreneurship, I think entrepreneurship you can't expect without investment, and I can't expect a smallholder, the person coming over a smallholder family investing 1 lakh, 2 lakh rupees of the business. Initially they can start with 15, 20, 30,000 of the business, but to scale it up, they need finance. If I go to any of the financial institution, what Naveen has said about the Vishkarma Yojana, there are multiple government scheme on Shishu and different Mudra loans and all those things. Like in your case, none of our agri entrepreneurs, they got the loan. Then as a savior, this a microfinance institution like Avanti, Sanmanati, they will come into the picture. But again, the kind of expectation on the interest front is not there. They will charge the interest, but they will give the loan to first-time agri entrepreneur. They will develop some credit history, and then based on that credit history, then they can get loan from the public sector institutions. So again, there is a challenge. There are policies to get the loan for the first-time entrepreneur. Even we have first-time entrepreneur having all the licenses and everything, but they are not getting the loans. So that is again on the ecosystem. But after a single cycle of repayment or a 2 cycle of repayment to a microfinance institution, now from public sector bank, they are taking a loan of 5 lakh, 10 lakh rupees for scale up and all those things. So that is happening. But at the initial level, there is a challenge getting a loan for an individual without having a credit history from a public sector bank. So ecosystem wise, I'll take example of government and this financial institution. Initially, there is challenge with everyone. But with time, it will develop.
So thank you so much. I think we've got a fairly good exposure on the journey of these 4 very innovative experiments and also the way they've engaged with the ecosystem. So the floor is open for any questions, reflections as well. Yeah, let's start from there.
Hello, my name is Rucha and I'm from Selco. I had 3 points actually, a very good discussion. One was on the facilitation of finance. I think almost all the panelists spoke about finance, and it's kind of ironic that we are sitting in Axis Bank, right? And I think I had a question actually. Have you, through the Axis Bank Foundation, tried to kind of unlock finance for or created partnerships with the for-profit wing as well? So that was first. The second was on the entrepreneurship in terms of the aspiration again. So are we kind of saying to the entrepreneurs, like rural entrepreneurs, that you should aim to be first in the class, or like are you kind of looking at Sachin Tendulkar, or are you want to be best in the college for cricket? So I think, are we talking about tech enterprises, manufacturing at least, like we all spoke about retail, but are we talking about manufacturing of solutions? And the third one was that enterprises can be started by people who have the ability to take risk. And I feel like in when we talk about the rural context, we are almost talking about a smallholder farmer who has the who has to take the highest risk in terms of capital, everything, right? His family is at stake. Even Gopi Chand made a statement recently that who have money, they only can come in sports. So I feel even for entrepreneurship, that is like true in most of the cases. So kind of just adding that as a pointer.
Yeah, these two here, then we'll take this side and then some response.
Thank you. That's quite enriching. My question is to Dipesh. Hi, I'm Girish Agarwal from Grassroots. Out of curiosity, when the entrepreneurs are connected to Rang De, does it impact their CIBIL?
Yeah. Good afternoon. I know it might be a lot to ask, but would you like to share some of your challenges that you'll face? Yeah.
Hi, myself Sanyog Yaduvanshi from Iptida Alwar, Rajasthan. Just I want to know that government is focusing on exports in various ways. So in the entrepreneurship, are we establish any specific products or specific cadres for the exports in your area? Because you have a very vast number.
Okay, so
I have one question.
Can we take it in the next round? We have time here, so before we don't miss out. Or is it related? Okay, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So my name is Dr. Rajan Singh Gautam. I am with Institute of Livelihood Research and Training. So we are in research, and also we have done some piloting on skill development and entrepreneurship. So when we have done research, we found that the aspirations are diversified. Everybody has different aspiration based on their own worldview and their own choice and all that. We have done the market analysis, labor market analysis, and the potential for enterprise. That is also very diversified and limited scope for different kind of enterprise development. When we started our own piloting, we found that when you are promoting entrepreneurships. So you cannot like run so many classes for beauty parlor or tailoring or something else. And in that case, the organization which is promoting entrepreneurship is not able to do justice with the aspirations and with the market demand. And then what happens? The chances of failure of these enterprises increases. So how you deal with this kind of bottleneck in entrepreneurship promotion?
Any of you would, quite a rich set of questions, and please go ahead.
Hello, yeah. I can start with the question which was directed to me, which I don't have an answer to. So I think it's too small, so I don't know about CIBIL, whether it gets impacted and all that. But I think I think the reason you are asking is because can they go and get a loan outside later? Correct? So that's what they will probably, and I don't know. They will? Okay, so CIBIL score. If they not defaulting, okay. Okay. So thank you for answering the question for me. So, but I think I just had 3-4 points connecting with most of the questions, and I think Rocha, you asked about the ABF. We haven't tried yet. Yeah, so that also, but it's a good idea.
In fact,
the only question, sorry? It's not for ABF. I think the question is for Axis Bank.
So
Axis Bank.
I was just going to say, on the lighter vein, as we were all coming down in the lift, Byonkesh got on the first floor. He saw Axis Capital and wanted to go away. So we were just wondering, Byonkesh, if you had not attended this session and spent 1.5 hours there, maybe you could have opened up some new windows for us in Axis Capital than sitting here and discussing.
No, the only thing basically what I wanted to say is here, percentage of return, how much a percentage is charged. So for our people with disability, even 13%, 12%, 10% may get into a big thing. So we are talking about seeing that can I create a disability inclusion fund to help them to scale to get to that level. That's why Rangde is helping, because right now we have got it at 4%. So basically that is why it is working well for us, and we have actually negotiated to get to a 4% level for loans, right? So that is where it is. And hence Axis Bank or any banks today are not working because the percentage loan is higher in that case. Customized loan product works, so that is something where I wanted to talk to about that. On the entrepreneurship to enterprise, I think the whole topic about what we found actually, which was very interesting, because we kept saying it's like one size fits all. So everybody who is in the rural areas go for entrepreneurship development program for PWDs. And slowly we started finding that many people, I am not an entrepreneur. I don't like doing or leading anything like this. I would like to work. And we found that many of the people actually started working for somebody else. And many of our PWDs actually who are entrepreneurs started hiring 10, 15 people themselves. So those people started getting livelihood and all that. So in a way that became a smaller enterprise. I wouldn't say, I think the question we need to, that's why the whole thing of we need unicorns here. How do I build that whole larger enterprises in the rural areas? But the thing I found is that people started actually working because they started getting aspiration. Whether it's aspiration for entrepreneurship or aspirations to lead an independent life. So in this case, independent life was an aspiration. So that actually was the one. I think these were the few points I had.
Move on. I think the question that Ainir was asking about specific challenges that you faced, anything that you would like to reflect, and I would like all of the others also to share challenges you faced in doing the work. Any one or two things that you would like to mention? Or you could even respond to it later.
No. So I think I always find challenges or things as an opportunity. So I am trying to think everywhere there is a challenge. So which was an opportunity. But I think the challenge is one thing I would probably say is getting the whole system, like I said, the loans, getting the banks and all that understanding. But I think that is the biggest challenge of awareness. we find. So where there is small changes happens, we start seeing, and we tell the bank people to speak about it. So then it starts working. But again, still not a system. We haven't solved that.
Sure.
It becomes scalable in that sense.
So challenge first. I think we are definitely not able to respond to the opportunity which is there. There's huge unemployment, huge large numbers of youth available to work on this kind of ideas. But our scale is still, I would say, is very small. So we have done 4,000, but AKRSP has presence in 4,000 villages. So on an average, if I count, it's just one. So, but the reason behind that I see is this particular sector is still not well funded. If you look at, let us say, ABF's own portfolio, I must be guessing, but 80% might be still be going towards NRM and agriculture, or more than 80%. And ABF is only institutional player in this whole thing. All my other donors are just 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years. So they come, go. So how you keep a team which is constant on ground, keep working on this? I think this is also a challenge that we need slightly long-term horizons. We need more institutional players like ABF who can support this agenda for long-term. But that thing like, are there manufacturing and service sector, the tech-led enterprises? Very few. Still, a lot of them are vendors or retailers or those kind of things. But I see opportunities coming up. Some of our entrepreneurs are doing art and craft, bamboo furniture. We have a millet-based bakery. So those kind of manufacturing is happening. But in overall scheme of things, there are still less numbers. In terms of tech-led enterprises, not like AI-led enterprises, but we have people like, let us say, we have tribal youth who have put up video or filming kind of enterprises where they do all pre-wedding, post-wedding, all kinds of stuff on Statue of Unity and all those things. And they have all fancy video editing softwares, and they employ 5-10 people. So if you consider them modern enterprises, then such modern enterprises are coming up, but not very high profile. But this thing, Axis loan, this is very interesting question. So Axis Bank definitely explored this. As far as I know, they sent main bank people to field to explore opportunities on funding this. But I think business-wise, it is still not making sense for them, because 25,000, 50,000, 1 lakh, it falls under their MFI portfolio. And MFI is still 25% plus in terms of lending rates. And we do not want that kind of loans, because as yesterday Mr. Amodarai said, MFI loans are still for maybe smoothing consumption, but not for livelihoods and enterprises. So we require different kind of initial capital, not the MFI loans. Thank you.
So,
I need to check because it is 17 years old stories. But I will check. Good question.
So, you want to say something?
Just to talk about why Axis Bank Foundation or a bank can't do this, because as you would have heard Vijay in the morning, banking sector is the highest regulated sector in India. So it is not that easy that you find opportunity and roll out the project. So it's not like that. So yeah, it will take a lot of time.
So there is another point I think which I'll make.
Yeah.
Also, if I may.
We are not covering this up, but the formalization of credit in banking and financial sector largely depends upon the underwriting processes of the risk. If bank can underwrite the risk and the associated risk with the activity, bank is happy to lend it. I talked to the folks in the underwriting and the credit. They said, yeah, we are happy to lend it. But on what basis do we lend it? Is there a book of accounts? Is there a cyclical demand? So all of these factors kind of bundle up, and then we see the volume, of course. So how is my risk spread across the portfolio? Today, like in MFI also, the banking sector has burned their hands. the Ordinance Act which came up in Karnataka and Bangalore, which prohibits these forceful measures of recovery is being implemented across all these, and even people are defaulting at their will, even have they have the ability to pay back. So it's not like that the bank doesn't want to lend, but bank wants a framework to underwrite the risk and know what are the risks associated with it so that they can underwrite it better and have it rolled out. Yeah.
Yeah. So, challenges is mainly access to finance in the entrepreneurship space, especially the low interest loans to the entrepreneurs through nationalized banks or XYZ. Second, as Axis Bank loans, actually we are able to crack that. When we started this project in January, we had a launch program of a Axis Bank Foundation program and call all the bank managers for that event. And after that, there is a relation building happen. And fortunately, there are 3 employees who worked with Swayam Shikshan Prayog earlier are the bank managers in that region. So through that, we are able to get some lending happening. And as I said, we created a finance arm, which actually create that history, 5,000, 10,000 loan, and create a CIBIL history and go to the bank. So, but it's very tough to convince the bank manager to lend for the entrepreneurs. And as you said, it's a self-employed to the entrepreneurship. It starts as a self-employment because, as C said again, the risk factor is a very important thing. So we don't want to push people. You establish a large enterprise and get into the risk. So you start with small. Once you are able, confident, and again I told it's not like single business they can do. They can do multiple things to avoid the risk, and slowly they become a entrepreneur, employing other people for that. So I think this is the way we look at it. And in SSP, we are able, and again, there is an aspiration to become entrepreneur. Now we are seeing that success. When we started this in 2004, I personally went to the village to mobilize the people to come for a training. They came, sat, the person, as I said, the leader in the village, just done a rumor saying, we are going to give you a loan, so come for a meeting. Otherwise, for a training, they won't come. And once they come, I started saying, like, we are going to give you a training of 10 days, this, that. 15, 20 minutes after that, 2, 3 people raise their hands, says, are you going to give a loan? Yes or no? If no, we are going. We don't want to sit here for listening your speech. Again, we started saying, we'll come for the loan later. What we are going to teach you, I will tell that. No. You are going to give a loan or not? Just tell me that. When we said no, no one is there. But today, if my mobilizer go in the village, because they seen the success now. In a village, 15, 20 people earning 20,000 a month is a big amount in a rural village. And that's how the aspiration started becoming. There are a few women entrepreneurs got award from CII and all in our community. 2017 CII started this Women Exemplar Award. Every year our entrepreneur is a winner in that category and multiple of that. So I think once you create a role model, people see that it's working, then people will go behind. और जैसे बोलते हैं ना कि वो पहली शेळी पाण्यामध्ये उडी मारल्यानंतर बाकी सगळे येतात ऐसा. That's the way. So early adopter, first come person is a very, very crucial. One is that you set an example, you get it right. Yeah.
Yes, I think link it with this credit only. I think the question you have asked, I think as a foundation, we have a partnership with a public sector bank and even with the MFI Span India. So with that letter, which is signed at the Mumbai head office level with a very senior authority, with that letter, if I'll go to a branch and ask a branch manager to give a loan, he'll say, sir, everything is okay, but agar kuch ho jata hai, I am accountable. I can't say ki wo MOU kiya hua tha, like you said, underwriting and all those things. And what the basically branch people, they prefer, they don't prefer ki wo 20,000 ke, they will give 10 loans if they can get a 1 or 2 big ticket size. So their headache is less and their practice sector lending mandate is getting over. With public sector bank, that is a challenge. Even if you do a MOU at the central level, you go to the branch, then it's the complete prerogative of that branch manager to give the loan or not. Few places we cracked it. They have given the loan. There was a repayment. Then there are multiple loans that has been done. Another case on the customization of the product. We did a project for a company where we have to promote that DSR sowing. That is direct seeded rice sowing we have to do. For that, I think we have facilitated a loan for them. And DSR, and if you go to any of the institution, they will give you the loan, they expect EMIs, that every month you have to repay, but DSR happens only twice in a year, at the time of sowing time. If I go to public sector bank and ask them to customize the product and give me a product so that the repayment is after 6 months, that will never happen. I have gone to a microfinance institution, they have given the loan, charge on a higher side. Normally they charge, but it's like a bullet payment after 6 months. So that is more preferred for me, giving 20 or 30,000 rupees EMI in 6 months rather than giving 2,000, because even I know that person is having that inflow of money to give the EMIs at that time or not. So that's two things. Customization, we can expect there. You can't expect in a public sector bank. And again, the point at the first time loan, a startup loan for a person starting an enterprise, it's really next to impossible to get a loan from a public sector bank. But after having a credit history, underwriter team can say, okay, he has taken this much money transaction has done in his account. They get some flexibility, some confidence, and they give the loans. And so that transition we have seen, initially with MFIs, then with the public sector bank, and they are doing. And I think there is another point with entrepreneurship, how it has developed and all. I think we have entrepreneurs whose turnover in excess of crore. They have hired few people, and all these 20,000, 23,000 entrepreneurs are not that we have selected, there are referrals. The person has said, I am doing good, वो मेरा भाई है या मेरे चाचा का लड़का है, why don't you go there? The person is calling कि मेरे भैया ने वो किया था, can I also join this program? So basically the success goes with that.
Yeah, so we'll take a set of questions from this side. Yeah, please go ahead. Can you introduce yourself? Yeah.
Myself Sunita Hude, I am from Swayam Shikshan Prayog. Actually nowadays technology becoming our part of life, or we can say a need of our. Then my question is related to enterprise. How can technology and digital platform can be leveraged to support and scale rural enterprise?
Any other questions? Yes, Vyomkesh? Yeah.
Yeah, this is Vyomkesh from Medha. You guys spoke about the ecosystem. I was wondering if the samaj जहाँ से वो आ रहा है, is that also part of the ecosystem? Because हमने ऐसे देखा है कि nobody really supports a young boy or girl taking up entrepreneurship. It's usually seen कि वो उसको कुछ भी नहीं हुआ तो then the person is sort of taking up some of this. तो क्या कोई प्रोग्राम का हिस्सा ऐसा होता है कि in society itself you create that kind of at least acceptance or even like celebrating those entrepreneurs? That's one. The second is I was wondering, can we call rural entrepreneurship a rewarding career yet? Because that's what we always struggle with. So for example, मैं ये question पूछना चाहता हूँ कि how many or what percentage of your own sort of beneficiaries have touched, let's say, 30,000 per month? Because I mean, from research we found that maybe that is a salary where, or an income where we can call them like some decent income, some subsistence income. So what percentage would be that? Just curious about it.
So in our case, there are cases where people, they are earning, and another thing is 30,000 salary. If you are living in a town with 30,000 salary, then you have to pay at least 5,000 rupees as a rent. Then you have to run a kitchen. So, and what we say for this agri entrepreneur, you are living in your own house, the same kitchen is being used, and whatever you are earning is the incremental income. So suppose if 15,000 rupees he is earned as an incremental income by becoming an agri entrepreneur is equivalent to earning 25,000 rupees or 13,000 rupees as a salary. And there is another thing, if you are in town, then again at the back of your mind it's always there कि बच्चे का क्या हो रहा है, बीबी का क्या हो रहा है, कौन बीमार पड़ रहा है, घर में they are there. So that is not another thing. So we need to see for with salary, don't consider this income. This is the incremental income, whatever they are doing. And if they are doing the salary, actually whatever they are basically with all the expenses, whatever they are saving. If there is a match, it's not a challenge. So that we have seen. We never say them ki you will earn only 15,000 rupees. We say that 15,000 rupees is your incremental income. It's same like if 25, you go to the town and earn 25,000 rupees. So that way we can manage, and I think there are cases. There, I think in foundation, we don't say it's many, but there are entrepreneurs running 1,00,000 rupees in a month, but that has come with the time. So they have given multiple things now they are doing, and they are running more than 1,00,000. So limit is there, but that will take time.
Sorry, let me just push back on this point. I accept your point of like different cost of living, etc. But from an aspirational point of view, let me put a random number of saying 25,000 rupees a month. And the question I think is very simple of saying what percentage are able to achieve that? Because that is what will give an aspirational nature to this career.
So 25,000, we said 20 plus 20,000 plus, they will start earning after 2 years of entrepreneurship. At the initial start, because when they start, they will be working with a limited cohort. We'll say you start with 50 or 100 people, not more than that, because you're not able to provide the services. Because ultimately, when you are doing something, you need to show how different you are from the existing service provider. If there is an input person, and you are also selling the input and not going to their field and talking to them, you have taken the seed packet, whether it's germinated or not, you are facing any challenges or not. So,
sorry, I just want to highlight this as one of the pet peeve of funders. And similar question was asked in my panel in the morning. You were sitting there in audience where the question that was asked was, okay, if you're working with 100,000 families, what percentage of families join collective?
Sure.
And in neither of the panels, the reason I'm raising this is, it's a simple question of saying what percentage are we at?
So I'm just wondering.
I'm answering that. I think all 100%, because whatever dropout we'll have dropout initial 3 or 6 months. Once a person, he will start his entrepreneurship, initially he will earn 5,000, 8,000 rupees, but after 2 years, he will be earning not less than 20,000 rupees.
So Naveen, from your database of 18,000 or whatever number you have, what is the kind of distribution?
So yeah, in our case, we trained more than 1,65,000 women in last 6 to 7 years. 5 to 10,000 range is almost 40%. And 10 to 25,000 range is 20 to 25%. 30 to 50 is 15 to 20%. We have 10% who has actually achieved more than 75,000 also.
And that is with vintage, I think. The person
getting old,
So 25.
Sorry? Monthly. No, throughout the year. So I said, we are not focusing on single business. So there is a multiple things they do at one place. So that's how they are able to earn throughout the year.
25,000 plus is I think only 16-17%.
Yeah.
Just answer her question.
Sure. Yeah. Yes.
He asked a question and
Hello.
So just to
Rajendra Kosyari.
One second. उनका answer करता हूँ, then we can take. Yeah. So she asked a question on the IT and all that. So I'll give you an example of what we did and give you what is possible. So I told you about the potato solution, right? Now, if there is a child, a person, a father says, I have a daughter who cannot catch a pencil, and what do I do? So basically we have created an AI-based solution, which is a search. So a person kind of enters this, and we have taken all the data. So we have 8,000 such solutions, and we have aggregated data from about 10 sources across the world. So when you search, it will give you an answer saying that, and that video is in Bengali, and you can get an answer in English, German, Hindi, Marathi, whatever you want. So that will give you an idea. So it's an AI-based search engine which you can do. Now here we can just extrapolate and say, can I use this search to say what are the various entrepreneurship ideas which are running? What has happened? What loans? Which are the banks? What's happening? We can actually create this to just search. And that AI will help. And the second option is also, I think you have heard of the whole ONDC which is going on. It's taking time, but the open network digital commerce is going to be a place where a small entrepreneur can be discoverable anywhere. So these were the two quick answers for that.
Yeah, so Koshari,
Yes.
you had a
Yeah,
question?
Rajendra Koshari from Himothan Society. So पूरे discussions के बाद last में question पूछ रहा हूँ, थोड़ा irrelevant हो सकता है, but curiosity है, who is entrepreneur? And because everybody is earning for their livelihoods, so what is the correct definition of the entrepreneur?
Any one of you very briefly? उद्यमी कौन है?
इंटरनली हम लोग सिंपल ये बोलते हैं कि आपके पास कोई प्रोडक्ट सर्विस है जिसका कोई ग्राहक है तो आप एंटरप्रेन्योर हैं. ग्राहक होना चाहिए, वो एंटरप्रेन्योर, बाकी आइनिर बताएगा.
Okay, so I think we are kind of running out of time. So I'd like to just, I don't want to summarize the whole thing. In fact, I thought I would, give a surprise element to all the panelists by asking them to make a pitch on how could, in 30 seconds, I don't know if you still can do that, can you pitch for how can all people here work on a collaborative ecosystem to improve rural entrepreneurship? And you have to make the pitch without referring to your organization. Anybody, 30 seconds?
I would say that start looking for opportunities outside farms also. Include farm के बाहर भी बहुत कुछ है.
I think simple example is Naveen is doing not much on agri space. We are doing in agri space. I think अगर कोई एक agri entrepreneur input कर रहा है कि उसकी family का या गांव का दूसरा कोई beauty parlor कर सकता है.
I think the biggest one problem which I am constantly seeing is loan finance. Can we work together to create a portfolio where it helps all that and create the best option for all? I think if we can work together to find that financial...
It will help in scale up. I think that time लग रहा है, that time will happen.
So that is the thing we can say. Let's figure out maybe together to say what is that one stake in the ground of where people will get money at the rate they can afford, not at the rate where banks or something. Let us know.
Yeah, so thank you. I think I'd just like to end with maybe reflecting a bit on the observation made by Byunkesh on what does Samaj take out of this. So I think when we were looking at enterprises in an impact evaluation of what was happening in Uttar Pradesh, and we came out with a framework initially saying, how are these rural enterprises different from the way we look at startups and all of that? So their ability to scale is different, the ability to access finance is different, and can we also look at different kinds of metrics in terms of understanding what does this mean to grow? Scale comes to the next stage. And one or two things that came out, we were unsuccessful in capturing one element of it, which was, of course, you have the journey of the entrepreneur, the journey of the enterprise, the contribution of the ecosystem. But what difference have they made to the local economy? And in terms of either reducing the transaction cost for people from their service they're providing or product they're providing, I think we don't have enough of an idea on the contribution of the local economy. The second is about the contribution of the family. The family being a very critical element in supporting the enterprise. Sometimes, of course, they have been disowned by the family. An interesting thing we found, we could almost have started a story called the Mica stories. So the Mica of many of the women entrepreneurs actually supported them much more than their husband's family and so on. Sometimes they came up with much better ideas from their original place and had to work in a slightly different kind of situation. So I think the contribution and the role of the family is something we still need to explore. It's not an individual, it's not the NGO. It's like somehow the ecosystem is there. I still remember this, very interesting example of women who was running an e-rickshaw somewhere in Badoi, and the husband was there doing something, and at the end we said, let's take a photograph, and the lady and the two children were there, and he was not even there, so we had to actually invite him. So, but somehow this is an understated role of what's happening in the rural ecosystem. There could be other elements too, which I hope we will figure out. I think we're just touching at the tip of the iceberg, and hopefully in the years to come, we'll be able to get more and more insights. So thank you very much to all our panelists for some great discussions, and to all of you for actively contributing to it.